tempting to feel like that investigation is dead, that everybody should just pivot away from it and instead rest their hopes on the Senate and their investigation. One person who I'm quite sure doesn't believe that is the top Democrat on that House committee. Joining us now is Congressman Adam Schiff, top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee. Congressman Schiff, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I appreciate you being here.
You bet. Good to be with you.
What can you do in terms of updating us on the status of your committee, the question everybody has in their mind, which is whether or not this investigation is still live in the House of Representatives?
Well, here's the situation, and I think you certainly introduced it in the right way. We can't have a credible investigation if one of the members, let alone the chairman, is freelancing. We can't have a situation where the chair goes to look at evidence and basically says, I alone can see this evidence, and I'm only going to share it with the president. And it's not as if this is just keeping Democrats out of the loop. That would be one thing. But none of the committee members have seen this. None of us, Democrats or Republicans, know exactly who he met with or what he saw. We only have his representation, and you just can't conduct an investigation that way. So, you know, we certainly want to get back to the business of serious investigation. We have never stopped our work, not through this. We're not going to stop our work. But I do think it's important, as I've said all along, that this have credibility, elected in a nonpartisan way. And now I think we have this cloud over the investigation in the sense that many people have raised questions. Is the chair truly impartial? Is there some distance between the chair and the White House? And until those questions are cleared up, I don't know how much credibility our investigation is going to have.
From a pure numbers perspective, Senators Burr and Warner today said they've got about 20 witnesses scheduled for their investigation. They said they've got 7 professional staffers working on this. Can you tell us anything in terms of the House side, metrics like that for your committee?
Sure. We have probably a roughly equivalent number of staff that are cleared to work on this investigation. So the resources, although very small, frankly, on both sides of the Capitol, are about the same that are being devoted to the investigation. Our witness list is probably about the same size as that in the Senate. I do think that we ought to be making sure that we go through all the documents we want and obtain the documents before the witnesses come in. We don't want to have the witnesses jammed on us, frankly, before we're able to do the preparation for those witness interviews. But it's, I think, very much as you've described, or as the senators described, same witnesses probably for the most part, and the same staff resources that are devoted to it.
Congressman Schiff, one of the turns that happened today was that the chairman of your committee, who you have called on to recuse himself from this investigation, he took some shots at you and at the other Democrats on the committee. If you have just a moment, I'd love to just get your response to those comments from the chairman, if you can stick with us for one more segment.
Sure.
All right, Congressman Adam Schiff stays with us right after the break. Joining us once again is Congressman Adam Schiff. He's the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thank you again for sticking with us.
You bet.
The chairman of your committee, Republican Chairman Devin Nunes, said today that, quote, it appears that the Democrats aren't really serious about this investigation. He said, quote, as far as I know, they've done very little to even look through the documents that the intelligence agencies have provided. Just wanted to get your response to that and find out what you think he's talking about there.
You know, I'm not sure, Rachel, and I don't want to get into a back and forth with the chair. I will say this. We've submitted a witness list to the majority. We offered the majority, and for days we've made this offer to try to get things started, and that is, if they'd like to bring Directors Rogers and Comey back in closed session, we're fine with that. Let's schedule that and the open hearing. But if what they're really trying to do is essentially prohibit Sally Yates from testifying publicly, we're not okay with that. We think the public has a right to know what led up to the firing of Michael Flynn. Why did the president wait so long after learning that Michael Flynn had lied to take action or even inform the country it had been misled, I think unwittingly, by the vice president? These are questions that ought to be aired publicly. And I don't think we ought to use the subterfuge of saying, well, we want these other witnesses in closed session, and therefore somehow we're prohibited from doing 2 things at once. Let's schedule both hearings. I think it's certainly more than reasonable request, and we're waiting to hear back from the chair.
I know you're hoping for the best. I know I've been told that you're going to meet with the chairman yourself tomorrow. If things don't go well, can you envision a scenario in which you and the other Democrats on the committee would hold an unofficial public meeting somewhere that wasn't technically a hearing of that committee in order to have public testimony, do public questioning of somebody like Sally Yates if the chairman won't convene that?
Rachel, I think what's going to happen, really regardless of whether the chairman recuses himself or he doesn't, the investigation is going to go on. It has to go on. The only question is, how credible will it be? But Democrats are going to continue to work in a very straightforward way. We're going to call all the witnesses that we feel are relevant and appropriate. We're going to follow the evidence where it leads. If the majority walls off certain things, we'll be very public about it. I imagine they're going to continue to want to call witnesses and move forward. I do think, to get back to a point you raised at the outset, one of the things that the Russians have done is they have used financial entanglement in Ukraine to try to exert influence over business people and politicians. That should not be beyond the scope of our investigation. We need to look at that issue as well. And so I don't think we ought to write off anything. Some of the witnesses on our list do pertain to issues, for example, why there was this opposition at the Republican convention to an amendment that would have been in support of providing defensive weapons to Ukraine. If that changed as a result of anything that Ambassador Kislyak did or any other coordination, we ought to find out about it. So I do disagree with my Senate chairman counterpart. I think these are well within the scope, at least of the House investigation.
Congressman Adam Schiff, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thank you for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
What he just said there about financial entanglements, and that should be part of the investigation, that's really important. And it's news that he said it.